Hello and welcome again to Story Time with Toad. This is Speev, Chapter 2. Chapter 1 is on this channel as well. These are stories from my own head, from my own brain. So, there's also a video game running, so you can watch that instead if you prefer, or it's something nice to watch while you listen to the story, I suppose. Okay, Speev Chapter 2. Someone was nearby. Speev could sense it somehow, and he hated being discovered, especially by adults. Adults always kicked him out of the places he explored. Like the time he'd gotten up onto the roof of the grocery store. The store had a service ladder in the alley that went straight to the roof. Speev nervously climbed up the ladder. He climbed it very slowly, as if he might be yelled at any moment, but he wasn't. No one was in the alley except for him. The roof was covered in gravel and seemed to go on forever. It looked to Speev like a playground in the sky, but instead of swing sets and jungle gyms, it just had huge air conditioners scattered around. Small walls about 2 feet high ran across the edges of the building. After Speev had explored the roof completely, he would sit at the walled edge and watch the world go by. It seemed just like the battlements of a castle tower, and it felt to Speev like he was a guard on the roof of that tower. He could see for long distances from up there. He went back to the roof 7 times before he decided to share his discovery with some neighborhood friends. They loved it too, but they got carried away by how the experience made them feel, and they began shouting and waving to the people in the parking lot below. They felt as if they were standing on top of the world. Speev tried to calm them down several times, but he couldn't. They ended up leaving in a big hurry when a grocery store employee started yelling at them from the ground. The next day, the ladder had a plate across it that prevented anyone from climbing it unless they could unlock the plate with a key. Speev was mad at his friends for days. Another time, Speev explored a house that was still under construction. He found dozens of perfectly good nails just lying around on the floor. So he picked them up and stuffed them in his pockets. When he got home that evening, he placed the nails in his toolbox. Speev didn't have very many tools, but he had a small hammer and a couple of screwdrivers. That's when he got the idea to build himself a fort. Speev returned to the house as quick as he could. He was running out of daylight, and he had to be home soon. Beside the house was a huge stack of lumber. Speev snatched 2 boards from the top of the pile and headed home. They were quite long and awkward to carry. So he decided that tomorrow he would get some help. If he got Frank to help him out, he could carry the boards away a lot easier. When Speev got home that evening, it was pretty much dark outside. He leaned the boards against the wall of his folks' garage near his toolbox, then sat in his room drawing plans for the fort he was going to build. When his father got home, he saw the boards. He spanked Steve with a belt for stealing and made him return the boards the next morning. Speev hadn't thought of it as stealing when he took them, they had so many boards, and they just left them on the ground. But when his father explained that wood was expensive, he understood that he had indeed been stealing after all. The worst part of that day, aside from the spanking, was when his father made him promise not to explore any more homes that were under construction. Speev broke that promise all the time, but he always felt a little guilty about it. Alright, we'll stop there this time.